It's Karun Chandhok. You okay?
How
are
Karun?
you? You alright?
Yeah.
Good. We're doing some filming. We're doing a preview show.
Very good.
With this scenery. Hello and welcome to the FEZ Show in Monaco. And we were wondering where on earth, yes, exactly. We were wondering where on earth we would film this. There's so many iconic places, but the scenery in Monaco, Pico, the scenery in Monaco is just amazing. And why not just stand behind some glorious mountains and in the harbour? So that's where we've decided to pitch the FEZ Show for today. It's pretty cool, huh?
Look at the view. I mean, it's just iconic. When you think of Monaco, you just think of this beautiful coastline, all the yachts parked up, ready for the big race this weekend.
Yeah, it reminds me of home. I've been there so many times. I know you've been here before. Like, coming back here, it just gives you goosebumps. It's just, there's nothing that can quite... If you've never been to Monaco, I would strongly recommend it. It's just, the feel of the place is just... It's just surreal. It's on another world.
It reminds you of home.
Yeah, it does, because...
I didn't know Ealing looked like this.
Wow, thanks. But what I mean by that is basically, like, I don't know, you get this sense, and when you've been here once or twice before, you're just like, wow, like it just takes your breath away every time, and it feels like you could easily live here. It's like a world, it's like a home away from home. No? Not
on my salary, no. I couldn't easily live here,
no.
Gee.
You just feel like, oh, I could just soak it all in. But anyway, we should talk Formula E, because that's what we're
Might be an idea.
That's what we're here to talk about. And for me, I want to talk about Pascal Wehrlein first, right? Because for me, Porsche is a really interesting weekend, because they haven't had the greatest of times lately, right? You know, they start the season strong, but they've really been in Jaguar's shadow for quite a few races now. And, you know, Pascal Wehrlein, he said to me he still believes that the Porsche package is one of the stronger packages on the grid. But can you really see Porsche fighting at the front again? Have Jaguar really stolen that march?
I'd say Jaguar have stolen that march, but the thing is, this is Formula E. It's so unbelievably close that, I mean, like, if you were to predict it like we do, we are morons. So, yeah, I think, yes, Jaguar have stolen the charge at the moment, but yes, Porsche are going to be back at some point. I think that, I mean, like, Da Costa's won here in the past. Wehrlein last year, he was leading the race when Heartbreak, his car completely shut off, and it cost him what would have been at the time his second E-Prix win.
Indeed. So let's hear from Pascal Wehrlein then and hear his thoughts ahead of the race.
Yeah, the season start was really good, so expectations are high. But we hope that we can show a similar performance now in the second half of the season. Overall the first half was pretty strong. But definitely everyone is understanding the car better and getting faster. So we keep working hard, we keep improving, and we want to lead the championship after the last race.
Do you still think the package is one of the strongest on the grid, or do you think this other team have just caught up?
Oh, definitely.
That's caught up.
No, definitely we are one of the strongest packages in the grid.
Hopefully you can prove that this weekend, all right? Good luck. So it's really interesting, I thought, that Pascal was like, because I thought he was going to say that other people had caught him up, right? But he was like, no, we have the best package, which I thought was really interesting. What did you make on that?
Well, you did give him that option to say that, but he decided to big up his team, which a strong call in terms of team morale. But I think, yes, I think the second race in Berlin when he lost that 20 points in the championship to Nick Cassidy, that was a big slap in the face.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, it's not like the Porsche powertrain has really gone anywhere. It's still extremely good. We've seen, even though Jaguar have won the last few races, the Jag powertrain, obviously Power in Vision, Porsche have still been there. That they won Cape Town. Da Costa arguably should have won Sao Paulo, and yeah, they were running very, very close.
No, indeed. And what I think for me is now interesting, I want to talk about is the racing. And there's been a lot of talk about the Berlin and how we had 326 overtakes and whether it was good. Some drivers calling it was too much, it was kind of wrong. And we've had a lot of mixed opinions on it. And it looks like the drivers are predicting that the race again will have a similar amount of overtakes than what we saw in Berlin. Maybe not as much, but still not not wanting to lead is going to be a massive issue for drivers.
When we first came to here in season 7 and did the full circuit, we did more overtakes in that 145-minute plus a lap race than the 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and 19 Monaco Grand Prix combined.
Yeah.
And this weekend, I don't want to know how many Monaco Grand Prix that might culminate into what we have this weekend. Just is the style of racing at the moment. And yeah, and you will have seen on the channel we've spoken to multiple drivers who really just don't like this style of racing. And so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of happens, but I honestly can't see it being as manic as Berlin. This is Monaco. This is the race where you see no overtakes whatsoever.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to be in for an absolute humdinger.
No, I agree. Well, that's what some of the drivers like Verne, he was very like, he didn't call them overtakes, right, in the press conference. He was like, telling drivers to move back a couple of positions just because our engineer tells them to save energy they aren't overtakes, and that was inflating that number. But it's really interesting. I kind of want to move on to Buemi because Buemi is quick, and he's in that Envision. He's got that Jaguar powertrain that at the moment seems to be really strong. But again, with this qualifying at the front and moving back, it's really hard to be consistent and judging it right. But how have you made Buemi's season anyway? Because Buemi's had a great one.
I think it's been a good season from Buemi. I mean, where he was the last few years with Nissan, like, he's needed a season like this, and I think that the switch to Envision has worked seriously well. He's kind of been overshadowed a little bit by his teammate, and there was that altercation in Berlin where something happened between Seb and Nick, but we're assuming that that's all sorted out now. But I think Seb's also been quite unlucky. He got third place in Hyderabad, only for it to be taken away because of I think it was power overuse. I can't really remember.
It was power overuse. Yeah, it was disqualified.
But that 15 points at the time before Nick got his win would have put him ahead in the championship going into the second round in Berlin. So he's been fantastic this year. He's the only guy to get 2 pole positions this year. He's been lightning quick, and for those who've watched the FEZ show from earlier this week, he is my pick to win this weekend.
And it still hasn't changed.
No, probably not. That's a spoiler for the end of this show.
Well, let's find out.
Go.
Let's find out then. So let's hear from Sebastien Buemi and what he had to say ahead of the weekend.
Formula is always hard, regardless on what you've managed to do before. I think in the past I used to be quite fast here, and now this year I've shown that I have a great car, especially in qualifying. I think we've done very well. Unfortunately, in the race, I haven't done as well as I was expecting to. So I just hope I can have a strong race, and I'll do the very best I can to fight for podium or win. But obviously, I want to score good points. I think that's what we can do with the car we have.
Obviously, a couple of difficult seasons at Nissan. Where you weren't at the front as much. So obviously being back at the front now, how's the feeling obviously being back at the front and being, fighting for championships again, because we've missed that. It's been a while.
I think it's really a really nice feeling mentally. It's been really tough the last 2 seasons with a very uncompetitive car. So now I have a great package, but I also need to do the job, and I think I've done a great job in qualifying. I think we are the best qualifiers, but obviously this year qualifying is not as important as it used to be. So hopefully I can translate those good qualifying in the race as well with strong results. I know I have a car that can be fast in a lot of conditions, so I'll just do my best.
Yeah, drivers are expecting a very similar race to Berlin in terms of the amount of overtakes that we saw and the drag effect. Are you sensing the same thing?
Yeah, the amount of laps we have to do is really high. So for sure it's going to be a bit like the Berlin style. But I don't think that you can go 4 wide here in Monaco. Those kind of things are not going to happen. So I do expect a very high level of saving, but maybe slightly less overtaking just because of the nature of the corners and the track itself.
So another driver I want to talk about is Jake Hughes, because what a season he is having. And you have to remember at the beginning of the season, he was amazing for a rookie, right? And I was super, super impressed. But really the performances of McLaren at the moment, they've kind of slipped. Maybe teams have caught them up. And obviously we're not seeing those amazing performances anymore from Jake. So obviously nothing hard on him, but have you rated his season so far?
I think it's the traditional rookie story. Rookie is very quick. Rookie doesn't know how to save energy. And that's nothing on Jake. Jake's lovely, and he's worked out how to, and he's working out how to do it race by race. But because you start out as a rookie and you don't really know how to how it goes to start with, and then it gets progressively, but progressively you learn, and then it will probably get to a point where he will be pretty good at it. It's just that he kind of had this big burst, and now it's just disappeared. But when you spoke to him earlier on, he's like, yes, these tough weekends are quite bad, but he'll learn from it, and I'm sure he's got a fantastic future in Formula E. He's shown himself to be fantastic so far, especially in those qualifying sessions at the start of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, he'll take these and he'll learn from them.
Right. So let's hear what Jake Hughes had to say ahead of the weekend.
I think we came out of the blocks very well, and we executed both from like a car setup point of view and an operational point of view at the track, and executed race results, and especially in qualifying we looked very strong. And I think it's simply a case that we just came out of the blocks very fast, and the other teams have started to get to grips with their car and understanding the tyre and things like that, and we're in a situation now where the natural hierarchy is sort of settled in, and we're obviously lacking a little bit of pace, which we're hoping to fix this weekend.
What's the biggest thing that you've learned over these races that you've had so far?
I mean, energy management. It feels like it's a never-ending story. I think even if you did all the seasons and all the races, like someone like Lucas or Seb, you're still sort of learning a lot in these races. But for me as a rookie, obviously that's the main thing I'm taking. Obviously, in some of these races we haven't had the pace as well, so it's made the races quite challenging. So I'm kind of trying to take as much as I can from each time I enter on track, and then when the day comes that we're in a much stronger position, we can execute well.
So as Jake was talking, we've decided to move towards the exit of the swimming pool chicane. The vibe is bouncing here on a Friday evening. The drivers are just kind of completing their track walks at the same time. But I want to talk about Oliver Rowland, because for Mahindra, for me, I thought the big story, even though Abt were really good in Berlin, that Mahindra kind of lost out. And then, so speaking to Rowland about, did you kind of lose out? What have you learned really from that, from Abt in effect? And I also asked the Mahindra team principal as well, Frederick Bertrand, the same question in the press conference, like, what did you learn? For Mahindra, like, was it that bad that they lost out and they didn't get it right for Abt in Berlin? And were they shown up, or was it just part of the learning process?
I think it's all part of the learning process. I mean, it was the first wet running that they'd done. There was no wet running in Valencia in December, which even surprised me. And then there's been no wet running over the course of the year until Berlin practice. And so yeah, I think that Mahindra, they didn't do as well as their Abt counterparts, but yeah, I think it's just a one-off. I think they can't really read much into that. We spoke to Nico Mueller as well, and said that there's not much that they could learn from that, but. Yeah, I mean, like, you live and you learn, don't you? It's Monaco, baby.
Yeah, obviously it was a great weekend for Abt as well, like with Nico Mueller, right? Obviously, getting a point on the Sunday, yes, they fell back, but again, they're saying there's not much they could learn from the dry running in that.
Oh, yeah. Well, Robin Vriens dropped like a stone during that race. Nico Mueller did hang on in the Mickey Mouse train to finish P9, but yeah, it was a bit of an interesting race. I mean, Abt, they realistically know that they are at the bottom of the field at the moment. I mean, it's sad to say, but I mean, Thomas Biemer has said over and over again that this was a very thrown together thing. This wasn't supposed to happen, but yeah.
It has, and it has. So let's hear then from Oliver Rowland and Nico Mueller.
I think the Abt guys just the drivers included, did a great job in the wet, and were able to put the car up the front, but realistically for us in the dry, it's very difficult at the moment. We don't have really the grip or the speed, and there's not really a solution for that imminently. So, there's no rain around this weekend, so we'll have to just do the best with what we got.
I'll talk about the racing because obviously there was 326 overtakes, praised or unpraised. I know a lot of drivers say they weren't real overtakes, but how do you try and get a strategy to try and stay with the pack and try and pick up any pieces to try and score some points?
Yeah, it kind of changes. In the first race, I did a very good strategy. You know, I started at the back and got a point. But then, unfortunately, everybody takes the same approach where they try and save as much energy as possible and then go at the end, and everybody ended up flat out. So I think here's going to be tricky. It's going to be a lot of traffic jams, and the lift is just way too much here. If I'm complete, like the amount of saving that they've put in the cars is way too much.
So does that mean we're going to see a lot of lifting and potentially a lot of overtakes again, potentially? But with the walls being quite closer, do you think it was quite dangerous? It looked, and we obviously had the crash with Van Dorn and Dan. Do you think that could happen again this weekend?
It will be worse than Berlin. Yeah.
We have to get on top of our issues that we have with the package we got in the dry, and we'll try and keep doing that step by step.
Is there anything that you can improve software related to help that efficiency, or is it all just hardware stuff?
No, it is mostly software, I would say. The hardware, the differences there, I believe they are quite small. It's more how you manage the package you got via the software, and for sure, there is potential to improve things.
The good news then, because it's not hardware, so if it's software, that means development into next season, then you hopefully got a good chance of having a better package moving forward.
I definitely hope so, yeah. I mean, I do see all the people working very hard at it, and I do think we have a great team, great engineers behind our desk, so I do have the trust in them, and hopefully we can get it to work.
Are you expecting another chaotic race in Monaco with the energy management? Well, maybe if you dodge all the bullets, I suppose you could be able to pick up a point?
You never know with these races, these tracks generally in Formula E are extremely unforgiving. Anything can happen at any time. So, yes, I mean, we have to be ready and take opportunities as they come, and, make sure that we are in the position that we can kind of make the most out of these opportunities that might arise. A good qualifying is obviously the baseline, and then in the race we take things as they come.
I suppose the last thing we should really talk about is Jaguar, because obviously the powertrain at the moment that they have has been amazing. And Sam Bird, you were talking about Sam Bird's season and potentially being shown up a little bit by Mitch Evans, but he's come right back into it. Like, how impressive have you been with Sam and his bounce back as the season's gone on?
Oh yeah, fantastic. Season 8 is a forgotten memory. There is we don't talk about Season 8 anymore for Sam Bird, which is wonderful because we've seen him come back. Yes, he's played second fiddle on a couple of occasions to his teammate, but yeah, the fact that he's up there fighting for wins and podiums, it's a happy time at the moment. I can tell Sam's enjoying it, and yeah, it's good. Jag seem to have the fastest powertrain. You'll probably see something in this from Sasha Fenestraz, who agrees. But yeah, I think that Jag have done a fantastic job so far this year, and it could well continue into this weekend.
Okay, so let's hear from Sam Bird then ahead of the E-Prix. This car at the moment is probably one of the fastest on the grid. How good is it to be definitely the fastest, says Sasha. So chances of a championship is going to be tough, but because you're fighting with the people next door in Envision, like, how is that challenge going to be fighting them now to the end of the season?
It's going to be extremely tough. World-class drivers, world-class teams, but there's plenty of good teams out there. It's not just Jaguar and Envision, it's Porsche, it's Andretti, Nissan, McLaren, DS. So this is super tough, and it's so close. People saying that we're the best team. Yeah, we're doing well right now, but things can turn around quickly in Formula E.
Yeah, it's true, because obviously teams have caught up, I would say, from the beginning of the season in terms of the efficiency and so forth. In terms of now the racing and so forth, we saw so many overtakes in Berlin. Are you expecting something similar to happen in Monaco this weekend?
I'm expecting something similar, but I hope it's not as crazy as Berlin. Berlin was a little bit on the limit, so I'm hoping that this one's a bit calmer.
Yeah, so in terms of qualifying, people saying qualifying has not been as important, drivers have been saying, but do you think a good qualifying here in the top, in the duels at least, will lead to a good chance of potentially winning this race?
Yeah, to get through to the duels, and then from there you can still score some big points, but I think definitely to make it through is important.
I suppose what I took out from Sam Bird's interview there is that he was saying that other teams are still as quick. He still thinks the Porsche powertrain's quick, and that anything can still happen. And I suppose it's Formula E. Anything can still happen between now and the end of the season.
Well, yeah, definitely, and the fact that we're still talking about this type of racing that we're seeing from the last few races, where they literally just they're all going to be in a bunch. Yeah, I mean, literally pull a name out of a hat, and they could genuinely win. And we've said that about Formula E before. But this time, it could genuinely be the case.
Yeah. Again, we're always saying Formula E consistency is the key. But
look at Stoff last year.
Exactly. And even Nick de Vries, when he won his championship, it was just about consistency, really, and finishing races in that season, effectively. Right? But put you on the spot then. You sticking with Sebastien Buemi? Is that your man for the weekend?
I'm sticking with Seb. And fingers crossed that, it'll come good for me. But what about you?
I think, as the Porsche goes by, I think I went with DS. I can't remember who I went with.
We're trying to film a show.
Never mind.
Continue.
But I still think DS have got something to prove, and I wouldn't be surprised if a Verne or a Van Dorn are the ones to win.
That's interesting, because when I spoke to Stoff in an interview that you will never see, because I had technical problems today. He
Story
said
of his life.
It really is. He said that the DS powertrain is quite far behind where the Porsche and the Jag powertrains are. Which is interesting.
So maybe another DS win, which is interesting.
We'll see.
For DS being so powerful for so long, for Stoff to come out and say that actually we're behind is quite something. And with the hardware potentially not changing, that's it could be a problem.
Well, hopefully it's like a software thing, so they can potentially develop that even throughout the end of this season and into the next, and they can come back stronger going into.
It was the same with with Nico Mueller when he said it. Many of the things were software related, so it'd be interesting to see how much the grid changes from now to next season, or if they stay the same. But Pico, thank you so much again.
No worries.
And the beautiful sceneries that we had from the harbour to the swimming pool chicane.
I hope.
What a place to do an FEZ show, eh?
Yeah, no, fantastic, and I hope that Tag Heuer send us the money.
Yep. So, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you tomorrow then for a wrap up of what happens at the Monaco E-Prix. Goodbye.